Hello everyone, this is our Gender and Society Reviewer, presented by yours truly, Crystal Dea Madela. So here are your table of contents: true or false, subtopics, sexuality, gender identity, gender differences, biological characteristics, identification, multiple choice, subtopics, sex and sexuality, history and gender spectrum, gender roles, socialization, gender discrimination, inequalities, law supporting gender sensitivity and responsiveness, essay activities. So, true or false? The development of sexual characteristics is affected by sociological development through our relationship with other people. So the answer is true. So sexual characteristics is really affected by sociological development through our relationship with other people. So the answer here is true. Next one, we have a human shows signs in both sexes. The person is considered an intersex. So is it really called an intersex when a human shows signs in both sexes? So the answer will be what? What is our answer here? It is true. So it is called an intersex. Next one we have human reproduction is the process in which human beings produce more human beings similar to themselves. So do we really call this human reproduction? Producing more human beings similar to ourselves, like our parents, they often have offsprings, or their children, do they really look alike? Do we call this human reproduction? So what is the answer here? The answer will be what? It is true. So the answer here is true. It is called human reproduction. Next one we have traditionally gender is viewed as being male or female. This is traditionally, so is it really being viewed as only male or female? So what is the answer here? The answer will be true, of course. It is only viewed as being male or female because we are talking about traditionally here. Traditionally. So next one, gender identity is defined as a personal conception of oneself as male or female, or rarely both or neither. So, is this really the definition of gender identity? Is it a personal conception of oneself as a male or female? So, what is the answer here? The answer would be what? Any guesses? Of course, the answer is true. Next one. The usual level of sex hormones for male is testosterone. So, is it really the sex hormones of a male, the testosterone? Of course, the answer is true. Next one will be usually both sexes do not have pubic hair and underarm hair. So you already saw the answer because I pulled the slide too fast, and the answer here of course is false because both sexes have pubic hair and underarm hair. Like, who is a person who doesn't have any hair? It is normal for people, any gender, to have pubic hair and underarm hair. So the next one would be the next one would be Freud also acknowledged that the Oedipus complex insight in the process of growth in girls was unsatisfactory, incomplete, and ambiguous. So, do you believe that Freud really acknowledged this, that the Oedipus complex was really unsatisfactory, incomplete, and ambiguous when it comes to the growth of girls? So, what is your guess? The answer here would be really true. Yeah, the answer in this number is true. Freud really acknowledged that the Oedipus complex inside is really like that. So the next one is the patterns of the psychological perspective of gender differences. It is believed that girls are spending more time working from age 3, while boys are spending more time in school. So do you think this is the psychological perspective that some of us really believe, that there are really gender differences when it comes to girls and boys? So what is your guess here? So the answer here is really obvious, because the answer here will be, our guess is true. Next one, an individual may refer him or herself as a man or woman based on the biological characteristics that he or she has. So you can be called a man if you have a beard on your face. Yes, you can be called a man if you have that. You can be called a man if you have the biological characteristics that a man should have. And if it's a woman, so I can really think of any biological characteristic that a woman can have, but the answer here is true. So the next one is, we will talk about sex and sexuality identification section. Sex, cultural distinctions of behaviors, is male or female. Sexuality, a person's sexual preferences or sexual feelings. So this is a definition of sex and sexuality. So let us now go to the other slide. Okay. The next definitions, transgendered. The meaning of transgendered is it identifies opposite to their sex. Transsexuals, they are alter their bodies. So you can call yourself a transsexual when you alter your body. So if you're a man and you want to become a woman, you remove something from yourself to become a woman. So they undergo medical surgeries to alter their bodies. And types of sexuality is heterosexual, bisexual, homosexual, pansexual, and asexual. So these are the 5 types of sexuality. So we will now proceed to our next slide. I hope you understand what transgendered and transsexual means, and also the types. Okay, next we have components of sexuality: sensuality, intimacy, identity, behavior, and reproduction, sexualization. And there is also sexual orientation awareness when it comes to in early adolescence. So we have this awareness when we reach early adolescence. So next slide would be gender. So what is the meaning of gender? Gender identifies as girls, boys, women, men, and gender diverse people. Gender identity, a personal sense of one's own gender, self-conception of being male or female. So these are the definitions of gender and gender identity. So we will now proceed to the next slide. So gender history is a subfield of history and gender studies which looks at the past from the perspective of gender. So the next slide will be gender spectrum. Gender spectrum, those whose gender identities match their sex assigned at birth are as referred to cisgender, while those whose identities do not match their sex assigned at birth may identify themselves as transgender. So this is called John Money's theory. This is the gender spectrum, everyone. So next slide would be gender roles. Gender roles in society means how we're expected to act, speak, dress, groom, and conduct ourselves based upon our assigned sex. For example, girls and women are generally expected to dress in typically feminine ways and be polite, accommodating, and nurturing. So, we define girls or women when it comes to their dress on how they dress. So if you see a woman dressing in their assigned sex, like they dress as a woman, they wear a dress, heels, or some things like that, wear earrings, it is already called a woman. So this is their typical feminine ways, and they often be polite, accommodating, and nurturing. So that's how they call themselves. You can be called a woman if you are polite, if you are accommodating, and you are also nurturing. This is how gender roles really mean in our society. So the next one would be gender socialization. Gender socialization is the process of teaching individuals how to behave under the social expectations of their gender, known as gender roles. So this involves the teaching of gender stereotypes. So we will now discuss here how we socialize with other genders at home. So the next slide would be gender socialization at home. When children are taught that some opportunities are only for either girls or boys, the girls that want to play football or boys that want to be cheerleaders may be teased by their peers. So when it comes to playing football, we don't really see girls playing this, but there are football for girls now. So this is depending on how the parents teach their children on how they would participate in such activities. So when you are a girl, you should do cheerleading because it's for girls, right? So boys that want to be cheerleaders, so they will be teased if a boy would be a cheerleader, right? So it should be the opposite one. The girls should be the cheerleaders, and the boys should be the ones who would play football. So our parents here don't want their children to be teased just because they go to the opposite things that they should do. So I hope that you understand what I am saying to you, that this is really how it works at home. When parents really handle their children, they really tend to be like this. It should be where their assigned sex would be.